Our State of the U.S. segment tonight, really, our State of the U.S. is the Democrats are so desperate to convince people that their ridiculous, impractical, and power-hungry agenda is a good idea that they trot out ignorant celebrities to cry on air and tell people that babies will die if we don't pass Democratic Socialist health care reform. Yes, I'm talking about Jimmy Kimmel, whose baby son suffers a heart condition that required surgery when he was an infant. Now, I can't imagine what it's like to see your baby, your child, your son suffer in this way, and I don't blame Jimmy Kimmel for crying or feeling strongly or even letting his emotion blind him. But the truth of the matter is, what Kimmel said about policy, that is false, and we're going to show you why. First, this is Jimmy Kimmel.
We also want to thank the very bright and talented doctors and nurses at Children's Hospital who treated Billy, and not just Billy, many kids with so much caring and compassion, children from every income level whose health is especially threatened right now because of something you probably never heard of. It's called CHIP. CHIP is the Children's Health Insurance Program. It covers around 9 million American kids whose parents make too much money to qualify for Medicaid but don't have access to coverage, affordable coverage. This is literally a life and death program for American kids. It's always had bipartisan support, but this year they let the money for it expire while they work on getting tax cuts for their millionaire and billionaire donors. And imagine getting that letter, literally not knowing how you'll be able to afford to save your child's life. This is not a hypothetical. About 2 million CHIP kids have serious chronic conditions. I don't know about you. I've had enough of this. I don't know what could be more disgusting than putting a tax cut that mostly goes to rich people ahead of the lives of children. I also want to remind everyone that Friday is the last day to enroll in the Affordable Health Care Plan, in spite of President Trump's efforts to sweep it under his rug. Obamacare is not dead. It's very much alive. Millions of people qualify for reduced rate or even totally free plans.
With me now, editor-in-chief of Ricochet.com, John Gabriel. John, good to see you.
Good seeing you.
All right, John, what I want to do today is I want to break down what Jimmy Kimmel said. I mean, his baby is adorable. I don't really like the idea of using your children as a prop. I think that's stooping to a low level here. But he can do what he wants. I do want to make sure that the emotion that he was displaying doesn't blind his logic, because it seems to me that many of the things that he said weren't accurate. So here's the first thing. He says Republicans want children to die, and Republicans don't want children. That's the Children's Health Insurance Program. Is that true?
Not at all. I'm surprised Jimmy Kimmel's still on ABC. Maybe he can do the late night gig at C-SPAN, because it's basically turned into this bad policy platform. But he completely misread the moment. He misread the situation. Right now, CHIP is under negotiation. It has very strong support from Democrats and Republicans. It was actually co-authored by a conservative Republican. So for him to do this cheap ploy and try to tie it to the tax cuts is just silly. The tax reform bill hasn't been even passed yet. And there's plenty of money to go around, and the federal government has allowed states to shift any money around to make sure CHIP is fully funded while they do this negotiation. So it's just pure raw emotion. And he got the facts wrong on the tax reform bill as well, since the vast majority of people who are paying into taxes year by year are going to see a tax cut right away. So to point out millionaires and billionaires getting all the advantages out of this is silly, even though he might be a millionaire.
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but wasn't it the Democrats that voted in November against a 5-year reauthorization for CHIP because they didn't like where the funding was going to come from?
Exactly. The Democrats stopped this in its tracks, and now they're trying to blame the Republicans for it. Using his logic, he should be pleading with the Democrats and demanding people call their Democrat representatives and senators. But instead, he's just trying to point out that the GOP is always the boogeyman, and they're evil, and they love the rich, even though this is helping out the middle class most of it.
Right, it's ridiculous. I mean, literally every single thing he said is a lie here. It is a bipartisan thing. It's been supported by both Democrats and Republicans. It was authored by a conservative Republican, actually. It's right now the funding charge is being led by a Republican senator, Orrin Hatch here. It was Democrats who voted against reauthorizing it for 5 years. Like you said, President Trump signed a stopgap measure so that there's no letters in the mail, like Jimmy Kimmel was talking about, saying, listen, now your child all of a sudden doesn't have health insurance. That's not true at all. Neither is the idea that Kimmel's been promoting, that if you are of low income and your baby has a similar health problem that his son had, that you somehow wouldn't be able to procure life-saving surgery. The same hospital where Jimmy Kimmel's son underwent surgery, operates under grants. It's funded by people who donate money for families who can't afford that surgery. So the narrative that he's perpetuating is, like you said, it's based off of emotion, and that really bothers me because it's lying to people and causing them to fear for the lives of their children or vote Democrats. That's not a threat that I would like from my politicians. The other thing that he said, besides the tax reform stuff, he said Obamacare is very much alive. John, is that true?
Well, it's limping along. It's kind of on life support now. And what I think is most amazing is just the broader argument that he's making. Oh my gosh, kids' funds are being stolen away. They're all going to be dying in the streets. I still remember when Obamacare was supposed to fix all this. Remember when it was supposed to fix our system and we could keep our insurance and we would pay much less for it? I have not seen that happening, and I could pray around my daughters, who of course have health issues, as so many parents have to deal with, and show how much in debt basically we've had to go to take care of them because we've lost our insurance about 4 times. But let me see if I can get in one of my daughters now. No, I'm not going to bring in my daughters and hold them up as a prop and shake them around and say, see, look, it's just kind of a silly argument, and it takes any kind of reason or logic out of it. What Washington is doing now is they're both figuring out ways to make this happen. They aren't trying to shut down ship. It's just silly.
No, it is silly. And every single person, it doesn't matter what political party you are, every single person is delighted, so happy to see that his baby is fine. Of course we are. It's so insulting to suggest that because you vote one way, you would want babies to die. Extremely insulting. And like you said, you're also correct. His claim about the tax reform being just for the rich, that's factually inaccurate. From any financial analyst who's looked at this bill, anybody who's looked at it says, well, those people who pay taxes, most people who pay taxes will be paying less taxes if it's passed in the form that it is. So I don't know where he's getting that. John, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. All right, guys, you have one.